Hey folks, and today we're going to be talking about the best DLCs of Battlefield. There's certainly been a lot to choose from. We went through all the DLCs and picked out the best from the series as a whole. Choosing which DLC that added to the game merely months after release of final product has always been exciting to me, especially when it comes to Battlefield. Starting off with Battlefield 4 Naval Strike. This DLC definitely stood out in my mind, being the first to release back in 2013, being the third DLC for Battlefield 4. This has been certainly the first DLC to focus on naval combat. This isn't the first to have naval combat embedded in the series. In fact, Battlefield 1942 had some gameplay of naval combat back in the initial release. This DLC definitely puts an emphasis on water vehicle combat, such as boats, jet skis, and hovercrafts. The DLC has a vast variety of gameplay, including a new game mode included with the 4 gorgeous maps. The maps themselves are extremely open, a great place for snipers with elevated positions that favor the defenders in rush mode, while providing the perfect vantage point for picking off players who prefer the run and gun approach. Attached to the DLC were new weapons, including a grenade launcher, an anti-air mine, and a hovercraft, which makes for swift travel. And you can even use an old cannon in the fort on Operation Mortar. This DLC added 5 extra achievements and 11 new assignments to plug away at. There's definitely enough for experienced players to jump right back in. The next DLC is from Battlefield 3, Back from Carcano. This DLC was released back in December 13th, 2011, being the first DLC for the title. Back to Carcano, or B2K, featured 4 maps straight out from Battlefield 2. Wake Island, Gulf of Oman, Sharkwai Peninsula, and Strike of Carcano. Strike of Carcano and Sharkwai Peninsula provided the most memorable fights. Almost every building can be blown apart, the streets are dominated by rumbling tanks, and the ground is carried out by waves of soldiers. Wake Island is still one of my favorites out of the bunch. The map design is great, creating easy visuals for the eyes but still delivers a great spectacle. Its wide open walkways and bridges are a nightmare for infantry on foot, and its weird shape and the increased size makes it hard for fighters to get from one end to the other. Last but certainly least, the Gulf of Oman. Well known for its gravy sniping perches with tons of cover, it's more dense, filled with more detailed and urban environment than the Battlefield 2 originally. Back to Carcano also contains 10 weapons, all of which originally appeared in Battlefield 2. You can unlock these by completing assignments, tasks, and that you can rack up by a certain number of kills, revives, ammo supplies across the maps. Back to Carcano show Battlefield 3 at its biggest and best yet. But it's odd to me that DICE had to reach in their back pocket and go back to their roots, but there's no denying Carcano's quality. Moving on to Battlefield Bad Company 2, Vietnam. This DLC could have definitely been a full game on its own, jam-packed with maps, weapons, vehicles, voiceovers, and even 49 soundtracks. Being what it is about 8 years ago, I can't complain, even if it was a full game. The maps, on the other hand, are different from most Battlefield games. Hill 137 has grimy tunnels and trenches, but definitely best of all, one side of the map is blackened, flame-covered forest, or what used to be a forest, is an iconic look, much like the gorgeous trenches of Vantage. In 2010, this game definitely delivers on the visuals. The breathtaking sights where you just gotta stop and stare definitely makes a great game, especially for that era of gaming. And speaking about visuals, Battlefield 1 definitely has a treat for your eyes. When I first launched this game, I couldn't believe the visual effects and the graphics behind this powerhouse of a game. On to Battlefield 1's DLC named In the Name of Testar. It's a DLC recently released upon its late last year in September. This DLC is noted one of the largest content-filled DLCs of all DLCs of Battlefield 1 so far, and it delivers. Focusing on the Russian army, the latest expansion pack arrives as a somewhat revolution of the Russian faction of 1919. The expansion includes new weapons, melee weapons, and 6 new maps. The maps are much more open with the exception of one, and are filled with stretches of snow-covered land that is punched by trenches or crumbling buildings that serve a cover point, which makes it more difficult to find cover. And added to this DLC, the new game mode called Supply Drop. It's a simple mode that plays a lot like War Pigeons, but definitely a welcome addition. Battles take place on a domination-sized map, and instead of the flag points, the objective is to capture and defend incoming supply drops. 2 are dropped randomly on the map, and you're tasked to capture and hold. It's another short distraction mode which can be enjoyed in such bursts. I honestly like this game mode a lot. It's a nice break from the long conquest or operation modes. I feel the latest DLC for Battlefield 1 definitely brought the game back to life. So, a lot of us think that there was a big flop with Battlefield Hardline, which in my case I enjoyed the experience. The DLC Getaway grabbed my attention being an initial release. This DLC brought doubters back for another go. The DLC gave us 9 new weapons and 3 more if you're a Season Pass holder. 4 new maps include Train Dodge, Pacific Highway, Double Cross, and Diversion. Train Dodge was my personal favorite, slightly because of the train integrated in the center of the map, what makes the map particularly stand out. Another mode they added to the game was called Capture the Bag, which is exactly like Capture the Flag in any other Battlefield game. There wasn't really too many great additions added to this DLC, being for what the game is. This game certainly could have been a big DLC for Battlefield 4 in my opinion, but it's not too bad being a whole game being released after Battlefield 4. With that being said, those were our favorite DLCs of Battlefield. The reason why that these DLCs weren't ranked is just because all the games had a lot of DLCs added to the game, so it was really hard to choose and rank from top 10 to top 1. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a comment below of your favorite DLC from any Battlefield game. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you right here on GameFuel.